Hi, everybody. I'm Vince White. I'm your friendly neighborhood employment attorney, and we're dealing with the return to work and what employees should expect as they return to work after the COVID-19 lockdown. It's been weird. It's been real weird, hasn't it? Right? So, first and foremost, most employers, not all employers, but most employers are going to be having higher levels of cleaning going on in their facilities, right? They're going to be trying to sterilize things, doing deep cleans more often. I think there's going to be a lot of that going on. If that's not going on, or if you feel like you're being exposed in some way, it might make sense to call up an employment attorney and have a conversation. Now, after we go with kind of the easy stuff, the cleaning, which I think everybody agrees with, right? Everybody thinks we should be cleaner. Hands should be washed. I think we can all agree. And facilities should be deep cleaned and sanitized. That's easy, right? Now, there's two other parts to staying safe in the workplace that people do not agree on necessarily. People are at least of different minds. First is the PPE, the face masks, right? And we actually created another video. We'll put the link down below for you about if your employer can require you to wear a face mask. The short answer is yes. Your employer can absolutely require you to wear a face mask. There's certain situations like accommodation for disabilities that might be in play there. If you have a disability that makes you incapable of wearing a mask, there might be things that can be done for you. But the easy answer is, and I'll use my props from the other video, your employer, Scrooge McDuck, right? He employs Launchpad McQuack. And I don't know if you can see, but Launchpad is wearing a safety helmet and safety goggles. And he's doing that because Scrooge requires him to wear it as part of the safety initiative at the facility, right? Launchpad's a pilot. For whatever reason, Scrooge thinks he needs a little extra protection, some goggles, some headwear, and so he requires it. And it's exactly the same thing when your employer requires you to wear a face mask. Your personal opinions, your philosophical beliefs about face masks, irrelevant. Scrooge McDuck is a private employer. He's not the government, so your constitutional rights, most of them are not really in play here. If you don't like it, you can go work somewhere else, right? You can vote with your feet. So let's get that out of the way. The face masks, it's probably not a claim for you. And if you get terminated because you refuse to wear a face mask, I would have concerns about your ability to collect unemployment benefits. I don't want to tell anyone that they are or not going to collect unemployment benefits, but I'd be very concerned for you. Okay, getting that one out of the way, not interested in arguing. Social distancing. Now, I think it's going to be really important to keep in mind that many of your coworkers are going to be extraordinarily afraid. Very tense, very afraid, right? You're going to have people, potentially, when you go to work, maybe you have to do something that takes you within 6 feet of this person. That individual may feel that he or she has been through a great deal during lockdown, may be very stressed out. For all we know, may have lost family members, right? May have had a number of close calls in his or her life. There's a lot that could have happened. People are really stressed out. And sometimes when you go within 6 feet of someone and you return to work, they're going to lose their mind on you. It's just something you kind of have to expect, right? There's people who are not coping as well as others. And there's people who have their own reasons to be afraid or to be upset. And you have to expect that. And if that happens, I think what you need to do is immediately document, right? Jot down what happened, because who knows what that person might say, right? They're going to be very upset, and their memory might not be the best, or they might know they did something a little crazy, and they might start lying their head off to get out of trouble, right? So immediately document, figure out who was around. Was it on camera? Was it recorded audio? What evidence is available to me? And then go to your employer and say, hey, this is what happened. I assume you don't want to get this person in trouble, but you have to feel safe too. As much as we want to make everybody feel safe, that person who wanted you 6 feet away, we need to make that person feel safe. But you also need to feel safe, and if somebody is becoming very angry with you or very distraught with you, very emotional with you in the workplace, and it makes you uncomfortable, document, and then get it on file with the employer. Protect yourself, I promise you, this is going to be an issue more times than you think. It's already becoming an issue. There's a lot of mask-based violence. There's a lot of personal distancing-based violence going on. It's wild out there, and it's not going to get any better when all of a sudden people are returned to work. So be ready for that. Oh, okay. Next, you may have kids. You may be returning to work, and your kids are not returning to school. Most likely, depending on where you live, right? That's a problem. I would suggest talking to your employer about that. A smart employer would work with you on that. If the employer says they don't care, it may be time, depending where you are, to speak to an employment attorney. Okay? Also, now, let's say you don't have kids, but your coworkers do, and they're home, they're unsupervised or hopefully supervised, right? But the other employees, your coworkers, are very stressed out because these kids, they're e-learning, hopefully, and it's a mess. And now the coworker's back at work and can't really watch the kids and doesn't know what's going on and can't make the math lesson happen. And the situation's just gone from bad to worse for that person, right? Like working from home while you watch your kids, I imagine, is brutal. Working from work while worrying about your kids e-learning and maybe somebody that you don't entirely trust is watching them. Whoa, that sounds worse. Try to be understanding. That person is going to be under an incredible amount of stress, and to the extent that they can, work something out with the employer, that's going to be great. To the extent that you can go easy on them and maybe not, immediately report them for taking a phone call from their child, I would urge you to maybe do that if you're able. If it's a job site where things can be a little bit relaxed, I would recommend an extra helping of human decency in this current environment. Okay, now people who are still at risk. There's a lot of people, we're learning more and more, who are at risk for the COVID-19 disease. There's a lot of people who aren't really, right? I mean, everyone, it's a risk for everyone, but it's a small risk for most people. But there's people with comorbidities that put them at higher risk, lung issues, obesity, diabetes, heart conditions, age. There's a lot of people who are at risk. That is by no means an exhaustive list, right? They're going to all want to speak to their doctors before returning to work and find out what they need in terms of a reasonable accommodation for their disability before they go back to work, right? So you get a letter from your doctor saying, this is what I need to be able to safely return to work. Take it to the employer and say, boss, this is the reasonable accommodations that I need for my disability. Do all of this in writing. Keep a record of all of this. Do not lose it. It might be very important later. Your employer will hopefully then engage in the reasonable accommodation dialogue with you, trying to figure out what they can do for you, what's reasonable to make it safe for you to return to work and for you to continue doing your job. If they will not engage in that dialogue with you, or if they refuse to do something that is a reasonable accommodation for you, speak to an employment attorney immediately. Okay? This is no job's worth your life. Also, they need to engage in this dialogue with you, right? Almost all employers are going to fit into the category where they have to have this reasonable accommodation dialogue with you. No one can just tell you, you need to come to work. I don't care if you die, even though you're at risk here. That's not how the world works. That's not how our laws work. It is very much how the world used to work, but hopefully it's not where we are today, okay? All right. Lastly, and this is going to be something that's going on in the background. So you're returning to work, but unemployment is at an all-time high. I think record-setting highs, both nationwide and in various states and various cities. My understanding is in New York City, 1 in 9 New Yorkers is unemployed. That's quite a number. I don't even really know how to understand that number. And then even worse, even sadder, so nationwide, my understanding is that 40% of the jobs paying $40,000 or less are just gone now. They don't exist. Those people are unemployed. And many nationwide unemployment benefits programs may be insolvent without some kind of government action to fund them to continue supplying benefits. So that's terrifying, right? It is. It is terrifying. But you, because you're watching this video, I assume you're returning to work. And might I underscore that now is not the time for goofing off, right? You know, it's always funny, people call it like, oh, I was sleeping in the break room, they caught me, ha 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 ha. Not now. Oh my God. There's so many people who want a seat in that break room. There's so many people who want your job right now. And we want good things for those people, but now is not the time to mess around at work, because employers are going to be hyper aware of, one, the fact that they need to downsize. Many of them are not doing well, so they're going to be looking to downsize. Two, they're going to be hyper aware that they can replace people because the pool of people who need jobs is going to be massive right now. I mean, worse potentially than 2008, which is when I got my first law job. It wasn't pretty. So keep that in mind. The world is a different place than it was 2 months ago, frankly. And it's a new and strange place, and new and strange things are going to happen. And we all need to be kind of on our toes, head on a swivel, ready to adapt and to move on with life and to keep doing what you all do best, which is succeeding and having happy, healthy lives and hopefully rewarding careers. Hopefully we're helping you to do that as your employment attorneys. I wish you the best. I hope this was helpful. If you have questions, please don't hesitate. Reach out. We have answers. If we don't, we'll look the answers up. If we can't do that, we'll tell you nobody knows. But hopefully that won't happen. Good luck, everybody.